Hi, it's been a while since we've seen each other, and I thought maybe this would be a good time to say hi and to share a little bit of work with you that I do. I spend a lot of my working effort promoting books by Indigenous authors and authors of color. And since it's February, I thought I might promote a few children's books by Black authors. Um, I'm going to try my best to get them in the screen and to give you all the titles and authors. But what I will do is at the end of this recording, I'll place a list of all the titles because I know you're going to want to pick some of these up. They are really good books. The first book I'm going to start with here is Milo Imagines the World. It's written by Matt de la Pena, who's actually a Chicano author, and it's illustrated by Christian Robinson, who is a black illustrator. I'm going to start with books for the younger children and go up through books for teens, so there'll be a progression in age and in readership for these books. So in this book, in Milo Imagines the World, it's a Sunday, and Milo and his sister every Sunday get on the subway and they go for a ride. And Milo does that thing that all of us very often do. We look at people's faces and bodies and shapes and clothing, and we invent a story for them. We think we can tell what they do by how they look. Well, Milo realizes that people are looking at him too. And after certain incidents, he comes to realize that there are many, many possibilities to the faces he sees, not necessarily what he assumes on their behalf. Another picture book here is Opal's Greenwood Oasis. In this book, Opal lives in Greenwood, Oklahoma. It's a suburb of Tulsa, and Greenwood was also known as Black Wall Street. This story reads like a slice of life. It takes place just days before the massacre of 1921. It's not a book written for the white gaze. It has the fear in it that lies just beneath the surface, but it's not explained for outsiders. It shows what life was like to this little girl who lived in Greenwood in 1921. It shows, it doesn't tell. Um, the author, in their notes at the end of the book, propels the story into the massacre that happened just days later for older readers who are ready for that part of the story. This is a chapter book. It's a book that students, young people probably would read on their own, although it does make a really good read aloud. Hockey Night in Kenya by Darcy Matunda and Eric Walters, and illustrated by Claudia Devia. Um, so in it, the characters are Ngozi and Katu, and the two of them may as well be brothers. They go to school together, they eat lunch together, and they do everything together. They support each other's hopes and dreams. But Katu reads, he loves to read, and he reads this book about hockey and this book about Canada. And after reading that, he dreams about playing hockey in Kenya where he lives. His friend Ngozi and everyone in the village do everything they can to help support Katu and his dream. What Lane by Tori Maldonado is a book about a young boy named Stephen. Stephen realizes that the world doesn't see him as white friends the same. He wonders, he's trying to figure out what he shouldn't be doing that they do. He's a mixed race kid, and he feels like he's living in two different worlds with very different rules. He even sees that strangers treat him differently than his white friends, people who don't even know him. So, in this book, Stephen is trying to figure out his racial identity and exactly what his lane is. Love is a Revolution just came out earlier this month. It's written by Renee Watson. In this book, she gives us plus size girls who are beautiful and who get the attention of hot guys. Her popular girl clique is not shallow, but it has strong convictions and substance. And the ultimate love story, the way love is a revolution that she writes about, is that love isn't just about romance, but it is about how to show radical love to the people in your life, including and especially to yourself. King and the Dragonflies by Kaysen Callender is a middle grade story. Middle grade books are written for young people between ages 8 and 12, but those lines are very blurry. King is a young boy whose his older brother recently died. And his family and he are just wallowing in grief. And in addition to figuring out life with his brother gone, King is also figuring out things with his friend Charlie. Are they friends or are they something more? How is he going to know what his orientation is? King is right there at that age for beginning to question what it means to have a romantic relationship. And for him, it also means that trying to figure out if he wants a relationship with a boy or with a girl. And regardless of the romance, how can he keep his friendship with Charlie? He has some really important decisions that he needs to make about how he should help his friend. The Promise of Change by Joanne Allen Boyce and Deb Levy is an autobiographical account of Boyce's childhood in Clinton, Tennessee, where she grew up as one of 12 children who took part in school integration in that city. Um, Boyce's very personal account adds really unique and important insights to the narrative that we know or should know if you haven't that we should know about school integration. And if you don't know about school integration, or if your young readers don't, this book would be a really good introduction to them. It's written actually in verse, so it's a very interesting book. I read this while I was on the Cybert Award Committee, and this was one of our 2020 honor books. Shuri is written by Nick Stone. This is the first novel in a series about Shuri. In this novel, she's T'Challa's younger sister, and in this novel, she travels. She has to leave Wakanda to go discover what is killing the heart-shaped herb that gives Black Panther his power. The cover is just stunning. I love looking at that. So earlier, Tiffany Jewell released the book. This book is anti-racist, and after she wrote that, she decided to create this journal that would help young readers realize that anti-racism isn't just a thing; it is a participatory event. It is what we do. You can't just say you're anti-racist and let that be the end of it. You can't just read a book about it and let that be the end of it. Um, so, in this book, young readers have the opportunity to affirm their own strength while realizing their potential to change the world. And this book isn't written just for Black children, it's written for anyone. I would say, even for adults. I'd love to sit down and spend time with this book myself. Um, just an example of some of the things that are in this book. After several pages of activities, Jewel writes it's time for a check in. Right now, at this very moment, how are you feeling? What do you know right now that you didn't know before you started this journal? So they reflect on what they've done and what they're feeling, which is an important part of moving to action. And a little bit further in the book, she has them question who holds power. She asks them to notice who holds power. Notice their race, probably their gender as well, and whether they are part of the dominant culture. So she asks them, who's the head of your school? Who runs the biggest corporations? Who are your teachers? Who runs the country, the state? Who are the celebrities that you see most often? Who are in the shows and the movies that you watch? So, questions like that to move them towards action once they realize their own power and their own strength, and they realize some things in the world that they might not have paid too close attention to, then they can move to doing things to try to alleviate some of the racism in the world around them. And again, perfect for older readers, older folks as well. Um, so, all of these books really provide good collective examples of the diversity within the Black community. But one final book that I want to mention is A Phoenix First Must Burn. This book is edited by Patrice Caldwell. It's a collection of short stories. They're all speculative fiction, and they're written by young Black women with a variety of experiences. Some of them live in the past, some in the present. Some are thick, some are thin, some are transgender, some are lesbian. Um, some of them have stories that are based in Caribbean mythology, others from European or even Native American mythologies. But all of these are stories of phoenixes, and they all rise. So, in choosing the books that I wanted to mention to you, I deliberately chose books written by Black authors. I wanted to avoid biases, stereotypes, and microaggressions that are too often found in books written by outsiders. Please support Black authors, read, learn, celebrate, and enjoy the Black experience through literature. Support Black owned bookstores. I do hope you enjoy the books that I've mentioned. Thanks for listening.